Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, there's a host of reasons to send the bill back, okay? And I rise in support of Senator Duckworth's motion. And I will add a few more reasons. You know, first off, I want to say we as a country aren't perfect. We made mistakes, okay, in the past. But I do believe today the vast majority of Americans are not racist. I also believe that the vast majority of our institutions are not racist. However, I did write a manifesto a couple years ago, how to end racism in America, okay? And I'll be referencing page 38 in the bill, lines 3819 and 3820. I could do more, but they basically will suffice for what I want to talk about, because it talks about how to eliminate racism. Well, members, one of the things to understand is that when we teach philosophies and ideas that promote racism, it's hard to solve racism, okay? Charles Darwin was a white supremacist and a racist. He wrote 2 books. One was The Origin of Species, which most of you have heard about. The other one, which is not taught in our colleges or schools because of its racist philosophy, was Descent of Man. And in the Descent of Man, and I will quote, "At some period, not very distant as measured by centuries, the civilized European race of men will almost certainly exterminate and replace throughout the world the savage races." Darwin goes on to name those: the Negro, the Australian pygmy, and the gorilla. So Charles Darwin was a white supremacist and a racist and a eugenist. He believed in the survival of the fittest. Now, the good news, members, we have cracked the genetic code in this country. You know, I've read scientific books and pamphlets for over 40 years. I'm not a scientist, but I do follow it closely. And when they cracked the genetic code, the Darwinian scientists thought we'd find a gene that could change one animal into another. Okay? Guess what? There is no gene like that. There's variations within kind, you know, different types of dogs, different types of cows, but there's no cow turning into a jackrabbit. Period. So you didn't evolve from a monkey. We are one race, members, the human race. That's what science tells us. And we should quit teaching a theory of origins to our students that what? Teaches that we're different races. We're not. We're one race, the human race. Now, we're different ethnic groups, okay? But we're one race. That's simply a scientific fact. Do your research and you'll have that confirmed. Secondly, Margaret Sanger was a disciple of Darwin, and she was a white supremacist and a racist and a eugenist. And yet, her ideas are promoted through Planned Parenthood, in our schools, through sex ed curriculum, and in our culture. We need to stop promoting a white supremacist and racist organization like Planned Parenthood, which gets taxpayer funding, if you want to solve the so-called racist problem. Number 2, it has to be recognized that when President Johnson, a Democrat, signed the welfare program in 1965, he was warned by another Democrat, Senator Moynihan, who wasn't at the Senate at the time, who wrote a letter to him and said, if you sign this welfare program, you're going to destroy the black family. Right in the bill, page 38, 38.19 and 38.20, it talks about eliminating racism. And what I'm trying to tell you, that the way to eliminate racism, and you can turn to page 38 in the bill, is to address the ideas, philosophies, and government programs that support racism in our country. That's what I'm trying to get at. When President Johnson, and again, Senator Moynihan, who wasn't a senator at the time, but he was a Democrat, said if you sign this welfare bill, you're going to destroy the black family. And we went from less than 20% of black children born out of wedlock to over 80% in this country. The point is, these are ideas and programs promoted in government that support racism. And if you want to solve racism, you need to address these programs. And they're not being addressed in the bill. That's the problem, Mr. President. Okay? I'm just about done. The other thing is, one other area, trapping children, especially minority children, in failed schools and not giving them true educational choice is racist, okay? I did jail ministry for 13 years. Guess what a lot of those prisoners can't do? They're still responsible for their actions, but guess what they can't do? They can't read decent. And when we look at the achievement gap in this state, it's disgusting. We need school choice. We need competition. It's another way we trap children in a racist society. So members, these are the areas we need to address if we want to solve racism, not go down the same path of teaching a lot of these ideas and philosophies and supporting them and then hoping to solve racism. Again, I believe the majority of people in this country are not racist. I also believe that the majority of our institutions are not racist. But the items and ideas and individuals I identified, they were white supremacists and racist and eugenists, and unfortunately, they dominate in our culture in many cases and also our educational system. So members, let's send this bill back and fix the problem with ideas and philosophies that will reduce racism and also be based on scientific facts. Thank you, Mr. President and members.